Welcome everyone to the Sheffield United away match preview for our midweek trip to the capital to take on Millwall. Now, Millwall away is not a game to take lightly, but after a positive performance and a positive result away at West Brom on Sunday, we've got to be looking for more points on the board and to keep us right at the top of that league.
He leads us all the way, playing proper football, the Sheffield United way. Ole, ole, ole. Ole, ole, ole. Ole, ole, ole.
So, indeed, it was a very good point on the road at West Brom on Sunday. Goals coming from Callum O'Hare, his second in 3 games, and the second coming from 𝗍𝗫𝗕, who is on fire. 6 goals in his last 8 games, and that is a hell of a record, especially bearing in mind that we were a little bit worried when 𝗍𝗲𝗄 first got injured. Campbell has more than stepped up to the plate and, yes, just keeps scoring. I actually thought it was a really good game at the Hawthorns at the weekend. Thought it was a really enjoyable watch. I imagine the neutrals enjoyed it because it just felt like a high-quality game of football. And to be honest, you know what? I'm thinking about our fitness issues, thinking about the availability issues that we had. I think it's a huge credit to the squad that they were able to compete, that they were able to be that good. And that, to be honest, in the end, we're a little bit disappointed that we've only come away with a point, you know. I think performance-wise, the draw was probably fair, but it's such a fluke. It is such a fluke that gets them the point in the end. And yeah, there's just that little bit of gnawing at the back of my head that says, if only that bounces anywhere else on the pitch. And it's 3 points and a fantastic result away at West Brom. Now, after that game, we are starting to get players back. Our availability issues are starting to pass. But sadly, the games aren't getting easier to go alongside that. On paper, this one feels like a step down. This feels like an easier game than going to West Brom, but I think paper is lying to us. Our record recently at Millwall is quite good. We've won 3 of our last 5 visits to the Den. They're a little bit out of form at the minute. They've got no wins in their last 4. They lost at home at the weekend, leading their manager to refer to their own fans as thickos, which is an interesting PR move from 𝗍𝗵𝗲. I think he's been taking some tips from Greg Wallace on how to get yourself out of trouble. Am I right? That's a bit close to the bone. Apologies. It's really interesting, though, because despite all of that, despite the fact they're in bad form, they've already beaten Leeds at home this season. They've already beaten Burnley at home this season. They drew against Sunderland at home already this season. These are a really dangerous team. Anybody who's a bit like me, gets a bit nerdy about it, loves to get into the data and look at some of the underlying numbers. Millwall are actually 4th on the expected points table according to FOTMob. That is, of course, the points they would be expected to win based on the balance of chances in every game they've played so far. For real football men who think I'm talking gibberish, that makes no sense. And the only thing that actually matters is how many times you put the ball in the net, how many points you've got on the table. They're actually 11th. They've got 25 points and they have started to fall away from the playoffs. They might feel a little bit hard done to, but that's where they are at the moment. But I think that does tell a lie, and I think this is going to be a very, very difficult game for a midweek. But there is one piece of good news. One thing is for certain. The man who brings me out in a cold sweat, the man who leaves me terrified and waking up in the middle of the night screaming, Jake Cooper is not going to be available for this one. Whew. God, I couldn't have stood it if he'd scored again. Right, before we get into our team news, let me thank our video sponsors, Panenka Bar and Grill. Now, Panenka is a stunning premium bar set over 2 floors. They've got 2 bars. They've got a separate restaurant space, and they've got a luxury, unique VIP box that you can hire if you want to. Panenka truly is Sheffield's ultimate social experience. It's also our designated pre- and post-match bar of choice. They have all the live matches on, so for games like this where we're away from home, you can get us on the telly while you're in Panenka. You can watch this game. It's the perfect place to go to meet your friends, to just have a good time and to enjoy the football. You will find Panenka at the entrance to New Era Square. It's so close to Bramall Lane that before the game on match days when we are at home, it's the perfect place to go and have a drink before walking onto Bramall Lane to watch the Red and White Wizards. Now, let's get stuck in. Let's talk Blades team news and start to think about our predicted lineup. Now, team news first of all, Anel and Suter have both completed their suspensions. They are both back. they are both available to play in this game. Now, I think that's huge. All of Millwall's threat, generally speaking, comes through set pieces. They are absolutely dominant. It's where all of their XG is created. It's how they score the majority of their goals. So having a 6'7" behemoth at centre half like 𝗍𝗲 𝗚 should hopefully be a massive thing for United to try and limit what Millwall can do in terms of the creation. It might be harsh on Jackie Longthrow. He's been a fantastic deputy stepping up in the last few weeks. We've got 7 points from the 3 games that 𝗍𝗏 has missed. That's a lovely return. And I was a little bit worried, particularly the weekend against West Brom when we had no 𝗍𝗏 and no 𝗚𝗏, and it was Jackie Longthrow and Gilchrist playing centre-half. But they did a great job, and we shouldn't forget that, even though I do think it's time for the 2 main men to step back into the heart of our defence. Ryan Brewster appeared to be back fit. He came off the bench versus West Brom, and he reminded me entirely why I should never get excited. When he's not playing and he's out injured, I think, oh, maybe Ryan Brewster will get fit. And when he's fit, he'll be really exciting. He'll be running and he'll be fast and he'll be having shots because he's got a fantastic shot on him. And then he plays football and he reminds me that all of that stuff is nonsense and he's not very good. Now, it might just be that he had a rusty performance. He's been out for a long time. He's not played that much football. He's a little bit rusty. Unfortunately for me, he's now been rusty for 5 years, and that excuse starts to wear a little bit thin. But maybe I'm being more than a little bit harsh to the lad, and we want him to succeed. We beg him to succeed. I'm just starting to lose hope that he ever actually will in red and white. Now, Tyrese Campbell, the reason that Ryan Brewster's return is so important is that Tyrese Campbell went off against West Brom. He looked like he pulled it with a hamstring, but in the post-match press conference, Wilder seemed to suggest it was a back injury, which we have already been managing for Campbell. That implies to me that he should still be fit. He should be able to play on Wednesday. I am still expecting him to start, but with 𝗍𝗲𝗴 also being reported as being fit, as being ready to play a part, I expect him to come off the bench and to have an impact on this game. Now, let me know in the comments what you're going for your starting 11. I'm going with Michael Cooper in goal. The hardest decision of the bunch, to be honest, is at right back. I'm giving the nod to 𝗍𝗏 Gilchrist, but this is such a difficult battle because 𝗍𝗏 𝗍𝗏 has been fantastic. He has pushed all the way to deserve a start and to deserve to own the shirt to be United starting right back going forwards. I do think towards the end of the game against West Brom, he started to look a little bit tired. I also think in terms of this, we've got 2 games coming up now in 4 days. We play Wednesday, Saturday. I think 𝗍𝗏 will be perfectly set up to play against Plymouth at the weekend. I think that game at Bramall Lane, where we're expected to be on the front foot, will suit him so well. That's why I'm giving the Gilchrist the nod midweek. However, does that mean that we get penned in? Does that mean we've got no way out? 𝗍𝗏's dribbling, his pace really helps us down that right-hand side. It's apples and oranges. It's such a tough decision. Like I say, I've gone with 𝗍𝗏 Gilchrist, but I don't feel good about it. I think that after that, it gets much easier. 𝗚𝗏 and 𝗍𝗏𝗏𝗏 at in central defence, Harrison Burrows at left back. Peck and Vinny Souza in the centre of midfield. 𝗍𝗏𝗏 𝗕𝗏 𝗍𝗏𝗏. And up front, I think it has to be Tyrese Campbell. But as I say, I am expecting to see 𝗍𝗏𝗴 off the bench. Let me know what you think. Do you like what you hear? Do you completely disagree? Am I an idiot? Let me know in the comments. It's always nice to get that kind of feedback. So, moving us on, we're going to our opposition team news. What does it look like for Millwall? And to run the rule over our hosts, I am handing over to Nick from the Achtung Millwall podcast.
Hello, Ollie. Hello, viewers. I was just listening to an ancient country song by a bloke called Guy Mitchell. And the song was called Heartaches by the Number, Troubles by the Score. And the protagonist of the song listed basically every single issue going on in his life, always coming back to women, I noticed. Millwall's troubles are by the number and suspensions are by the score. Injuries and 5 yellow card suspensions decimating our squad. Now we're due to play Sheffield United on Wednesday night. Midweek games at the Den can go one of 2 ways really. One is it's electric nights of excitement, managed by Neil Harris, who understands the volatile arena that the Den can be on its night. And alternatively, it can be a bit of a drab and dreary place as a home player and fan sometimes. It's a very, it's a bipolar place in that way. So yeah, we come into Wednesday night's game against the Blades suffering with a lot of injuries and suspensions. Sean Hutchinson may or may not be fit. You know, a long-standing stalwart defender. Certainly, we're going to be good to get 𝗍𝗵𝗲 𝗕𝗿𝗃 back in central defence after missing out on Saturday's drab and dreary, and it really was, home loss against Coventry. We have just that ended an unbeaten run, actually, that 9-game unbeaten run, which put us up the table somewhat. I don't know about falsely. Our football has been rather attritional this season. 𝗬𝗽𝗻𝐵𝗲 started the season off playing flowing football, champagne football, you might even call it. And we got beat quite a bit at the start of the season. So since then, he's gone very much defend and hit on the counter punch, and it's been pretty successful. But as far as Wednesday night's game is concerned, I would expect a back line, Lucas Jensen in goal, back line, probably Tanganga back. I'm hoping Shaun Hutchinson. If not, then we're in trouble because we've got Murray Wallace probably lining up alongside Tanganga in the centre. Either side of them will be Danny Mack, possibly Ryan Leonard. No, he's suspended, isn't he? He's suspended. Danny McNamara and Joe Bryan. In front of them, so far this season, it's been Jules Saville and Casper De Norre. They did look very, you know, the petrol tank looked a bit empty on Saturday against Coventry, so who knows. Really hoping we see 𝗬𝗿𝗍𝗍, our teenage prodigy, back in the central part of midfield Wednesday night, because he wasn't around Saturday and we did look a bit devoid of any creative ideas whatsoever. Either side of remain in the centre, the part of the attacking three, so to speak. Probably 𝗬𝗻𝐵𝗲𝐻 has looked really attractive for me this season. Didn't do much Saturday, but really nice attacking player. Probably on the other side, our industrial workhorse, George Honeyman. Up front, there's a good question. I almost certainly expect Tom Bradshaw to start, which has caused some kerfuffle recently amongst the Millwall support, an exchange of views even with the Millwall manager Neil Harris, who's been getting a bit hot under the collar in his post-match comments lately. So it's going to be an interesting game. Score prediction you're going to ask me for, aren't you? I know. With my hand on my heart, I think we're up against it against Sheffield United, but I'm hoping for a 1-1 draw. So I'm going to go with 1-1 draw. Nick Hart, Actung Millwall, 𝗍𝗵𝗲𝗍 Millwall.
Thank you so much, Nick. Now we'll move on to the referee for this game. Now, the referee for Millwall versus Sheffield United is Matthew Donoghue. He's ref 12 games so far this season. He's given out 49 yellow cards, 3 red cards, and yes, that is a hell of a lot of red cards to have given in 12 games, but he has also only given 1 penalty, so he likes to give his red cards outside the box. I don't know what kind of analysis we're expecting from me on that one. He has ref United already this season. He somehow managed to give 19 fouls against United in that one game. He also gave 3 yellow cards to the Blades, and that was in our 0-0 draw away at Portsmouth. In his career, he's ref United 9 times. He's given us 18 yellow cards and 3 reds during that time. I'm starting to get an inclination that this guy doesn't like you if you wear red and white. These are very high numbers. Despite that, though, despite the fact that we seem to have terrible discipline when he's the ref, we have won 6 of his 9 games in charge, and we have only lost the once. For Millwall, he's reffed them 10 times. They've won 4, drawn 4, and lost 2. They have, similar to us, to be honest, get lots of bookings from this referee, averaging 2 per game, but they've not had any red cards against them in that time. Now, moving on from the ref and into our player connections. Now, the player connection section is brought to you by 𝗵𝗵𝗄𝗃. Now, 𝗵𝗵𝗄𝗃 is a virtual band. Many of their members are massive Sheffield United fans, and they are fantastic. Please do go and check out 𝗵𝗵𝗄𝗃.com. Their latest album is fantastic. I love it, and it is called Tall Tales of 10 Girls. Now, we pick 4 players who have played for both clubs and go through it. Everyone will know by now, I'm useless at this. I end up with 1 absolutely random name and 3 players that everybody's going to get. So all the better answers, tell me in the comments, pick out all the good ones, and I'm going to leave you with my 4 that are a bit of a letdown. Oliver Burke is number 1, and the reason he's number 1 is that he was already in the Google document that we use for planning these videos, because he was also a player connection for the game against West Brom. He played 28 league games for United, and he scored just 1 goal. But it's a pretty big one, a pretty memorable one. It gave us our win at Old Trafford. So let's not look back too badly on him, despite the fact he was a little bit rubbish. For Millwall, he played 31 games and he scored 4 goals across 2 loan spells, one of them from United and one of them being to Millwall from Werder Bremen the year after he'd left Bramall Lane. Next one up for me is George Long. He played 100 times for United after coming through our academy, but he never really kicked on. He was not able to make himself a long-term number one, and he's really struggled in his career since leaving United. He's always been a good, able backup at the Championship, but he's never really been able to make himself a number one anywhere. He was at Millwall. He joined them from Hull in 2021. He played 36 games before joining his current club, Norwich. The random one, because I have to have a random one. For me, this is Lee Martin. Don't know why I remembered he played for United. Don't know why I remembered he played for Millwall, but there we go. He played 6 games on loan at Brom Lane from Manchester United in 2007-2008 before joining Millwall much later in his career, 2013. He made 69 appearances for Millwall and scored 2 goals. Finally, we're going to go with Ryan Leonard. Now, everybody will remember Ryan Leonard because he was the ongoing transfer saga for United for what felt like an absolute age. Chris Wilder loved him and was desperate to bring him to Bram Lane. He chased him through multiple windows, both in League One and the Championship, before finally landing his man in January 2018. Now, sadly, the club actually just developed much quicker than Ryan Leonard was ready for. We were immediately into the Premier League not long after he joined, and he was never going to be a player who was able to make that step up, or at least we didn't think so. He left us just 6 months later in the summer transfer window, joining Millwall, and he'd only played 16 times for United. He's still at Millwall today, and he has played 176 games for them to date. Who else can you think of? Let me know in the comments. Again, shout out all the great names that I've forgotten because my memory is like a sieve. Now, finally, we come to our score predictions. And if you want to have your score predictions read out on this very podcast, video, YouTube show, whatever you want to call it, all you have to do is to join our Patreon. That is patreon.com/Sheff United Way. And it's not just to have your score prediction shouted out. It's also for a host of other benefits, including being part of a fantastic group chat where we talk all things United. And on match day, it is a really fantastic place to be to get that sort of knee-jerk reaction, but also some fantastic analysis from some fantastic members of the Sheffield United community. Now, what have they gone, though, for this game? Now, Statman Adam has betrayed us. He's let us all down. He's gone for a 2-0 Millwall victory. Ugh. Wash that horrible taste out of your mouth. Come on, Adam, you're better than this. Now, everybody else, nobody else thinks we're going to lose. Everybody else is at least going for a positive result, as I'm going to refer to it. James and Ron think it'll be another 2-2 draw on the road, making that 3 in a row. Hal has gone for a 0-0. He somehow thinks that 𝗍𝗿𝗲 not going to score. Grow up, Hal. Everybody else believes that United are going to win. Everyone's gone really confident heading into this one. The boss, Nick, himself thinks that we're going to win 1-0. Ewan thinks that we're going to win 2-1. Ant and Ray have gone for a 2-0 United win. Steve thinks we'll win 3-1. Holdfast thinks we'll win 3-0. And Paul, the Oregon Blade, he thinks we're going to win 4-0. There are some huge shouts going on there. For me, I think this is a really tough game. I'm going with that group in the middle. I do think this one's going to be a draw. I'm going to go 1-1. I think that'll be a good result, to be honest. I think it's a really difficult place to go. And another game without losing is always something that should be welcomed at this stage of a season. What do you think? Give me your score predictions in the comments. Let me know what you think. Tell me how positive you're feeling or whether I was too harsh on Adam and this one is potentially going to be a defeat for the Blades. Thank you so much for watching, for listening to this match preview. Sadly, I won't be able to be at Millwall this midweek. I struggle for London on a Wednesday night, but I'm sure all the Blades fans in that away end will do us proud. And I'm also sure that those players on the pitch will do us proud, as they have done every week almost so far this season. They've been brilliant. They deserve all of the success that we're getting right now. Let's hope it continues. Up the Blades.